It looks like they've been trying to kind of keep this story on the hush-hush, and now we know why. But remember that fire captain that we talked about in a previous video? The fire captain from California who was tragically found, stabbed to death inside of her home? When I put out that first video, or when I recorded that first video, they still had not named a suspect. And, days had passed and they still had not really released much information at all. Now, a lot of people online were blaming Trump. They were saying that Trump should be arrested for this. They were blaming Trump supporters. They were claiming that, this must be, evil Republicans who are against DEI. This must have been someone who was homophobic that targeted this fire captain because she was LGBTQ. Well, it turns out that all of those claims, accusations, and social media posts did not age well at all. Because even though investigators didn't say much, they hinted towards the fact that whoever did this may have or probably did know Rebecca, the fire captain. They suggested that this may be DV. They did not let us know why they thought that, but they did float that information out there. Well, moments ago, at least at the time of this recording, they now have announced that the suspect is no other than the fire captain's wife. And right now, there is an urgent manhunt trying to locate this woman because she is on the run. So all of these people who were pointing the fingers and they were blaming this, they were blaming that, now they look kind of stupid because it turns out that this woman's wife is the one who they believe murdered her. But let's go ahead and hop into this article. Urgent hunt for a murdered fire captain's wife as cops reveal chilling new crime scene details. The wife of California Captain Rebecca Marody has been identified as a suspect in her murder. Marody, age 49, was found with multiple stab wounds inside her Ramona home around 8:58 p.m. on Monday. First responders administered life-saving measures, but Marody succumbed to her injuries and was pronounced dead at the scene. The San Diego Sheriff's Office identified her wife, Yolanda Marody, age 53, as her suspected killer on Thursday afternoon and warned that she is still dangerous and on the loose. More shocking details emerged as it was revealed that she had previously been guilty of, She had previously been guilty of felony voluntary manslaughter charges after she killed someone in the year 2000. Court records obtained by CBS show she was sentenced to prison in 2004 for an unknown duration of time, and a dangerous deadly weapon was used in the case. In a significant development, sheriff's homicide detectives have identified a suspect in this case. The suspect is Yolanda Marody, also known as Yolanda Olenjanekzik, the sheriff's office said. Yolanda is described as 5 foot 2 inches tall, weighing about 166 pounds with brown hair, and is 53 years old. Her current location is unknown. The motivation and circumstances surrounding this homicide remain under investigation as detectives work diligently to gather more information and establish a comprehensive understanding of the case. The medical examiner's office conducted the autopsy and concluded that the cause of death was stab wounds or sharp force entries, categorizing the manner of death as homicide. The two appear to have been together since at least 2022, when Yolanda shared an Instagram photo announcing their engagement. No words can express the joy and profound happiness and gratitude that I experience every day that I spend by her side. And soon I'll get to call her my wife, Yolanda said at the time. I'm so blessed to have this amazing woman love me unconditionally. I love you. You make my life complete. The initial investigation led detectives to believe that Marody was killed by someone that she knew. Investigators suspect that the victim knew the perpetrator and are treating this case as a potential DV incident. Currently, the motivation and circumstances surrounding the homicide remain unclear, and detectives are gathering more information to establish the facts in the case. Marody served more than 30 years with California Fire and was planning to retire this year. Her passing is a profound loss to her family, friends, and all who had the privilege of working alongside her. Beyond her operational assignments, Captain Marody was deeply involved in peer support and hazmat, always prioritizing the well-being of her colleagues. Her legacy of mentorship, service, and dedication will be felt for years to come. Marody was one of the thousands of firefighters who recently battled the deadly Eaton fire in January. She was featured in social media posts of crews battling the blaze and shared videos of herself putting out the flames. I mean, that must suck. She had served as in the fire department for over 30 years. But I would assume these recent California fires was probably some of the worst that she had seen. And she survived that. She fought those fires alongside her co-workers and colleagues. And a month or so later, she gets killed, allegedly, by her wife. And she was literally going to retire in a few months. And that just, I don't know, for me, it just makes things so much worse. Because she was already, she was getting ready to go into that next phase of her life. She never got the time to enjoy retirement because shortly before retirement, the woman who I'm assuming she loved, that she married, allegedly killed her. But I think a lot of people these days, they hop in relationships and they often marry people so quickly before they get to know the person who they're actually with. Like, you should actually know the person that you're sleeping next to. You should know them in and out. You should know them deeply before you make this type of commitment. Yet Yolanda, from what it appears, was already a murderer, someone who had already taken a life years ago, 25 years ago. And now 25 years later, she's accused of taking another life. And personally, I feel like someone who has killed someone previously, I'm not saying that there's not, redemption for people out there. I'm not saying that people can't change. But I feel like when you take a human life, I don't feel like you'll ever be the same. And I feel like you're always going to be capable of doing it again. Does that make sense? Like, even if you're the nicest person in the world now, if you already took a human life, I feel like you're more capable of doing that again than the meanest person on earth that has never taken a human life. It's like, once you've done it, maybe it's not as big of a deal to you to do it again. And that's what I feel like the case is here. Maybe Yolanda should have never been released out to the general public because she put on an act for years. She put on an act for years that she was rehabilitated and she's changed. Maybe the first person she killed was an accident or whatever story they have behind it. I don't know. But once again, now, allegedly, her true colors show again as she takes the life of her wife. And this is, I think this story, it should serve as a wake-up call to people on why they shouldn't jump to conclusions and form, all of these narratives around certain news stories, especially right now when we live in this politically charged climate where every news story, there has to be politics involved. And right here, you got, tons of people who were blaming Trump supporters. And now they kind of look stupid because it turns out that, this woman's wife is the one who killed her. And this is probably, or allegedly, and this is probably why you're not going to hear too much about this story, because this doesn't fit the narrative. If the suspect was a Trump supporter or something like this, or something like that, this news story would be all over the place. But because it looks like this was her, wife, and this looks like, lesbian lovers, one of which murdered the other lesbian lover, because of that, it doesn't look good in the headlines. It goes against the narrative, and it's not a story they're going to want to spread. So unfortunately, for Rebecca Marody, her story and what happened to her is going to be buried by her very allies, because they feel like this is a bad look to their community. So therefore, this tragic murder and the manhunt that is currently going on is going to be suppressed in the news cycle because it doesn't fit the narrative. But here on this channel, we're not scared. We don't shy away from talking about things like this. And you can feel however you want to feel about Rebecca. Some people are calling her a DEI hire. They're calling her this. They're calling her that. At the end of the day, she was a human, and she did not deserve to have her life ended prematurely by whoever did it, which looks like was her wife of a few years, who looks like already murdered someone 25 years ago. A completely tragic situation all around. Now, even though investigators have labeled Yolanda as the suspect and there is a manhunt underway, they have not provided any information as to what led them to this conclusion. All they've basically said is that it appeared as if there was a struggle, that Rebecca fought for her life. We don't know the extent of her injuries and things like that. Like I said, a lot of these details we're still waiting on. And it's clear to me that they're kind of taking their time in releasing a lot of this information. I don't think they want this story to get big, even though it has all the makings of a story that should be blowing up. Because of the recent California fires, now you got a California fire captain found murdered inside their home, and you got a manhunt underway for the fire captain's wife. Yet you turn on the news, they're not talking about this much for obvious reasons. But this led me to kind of do some research, and I was surprised to find that lesbians, they experience DV more than just about any other demographic out there. And this was something that I was not aware of until now. About 44% of lesbian women have experienced, these type of issues, as compared to 35% of straight women, 26% of gay men, 37% of bisexual men, 29% of straight men. So this was just a statistic that I was unaware of. I didn't realize how common this was in this community. And I damn sure didn't realize that, DV was more widespread amongst the lesbian community as opposed to straight people. So that's definitely concerning. I guess you learn something new every day. But as of right now, I'm glued in on this story. I'll be keeping you all updated. Hopefully they catch Yolanda soon before she does something else crazy. Because remember, this is not her first rodeo. But for now, let me know your thoughts about this down in the comments below. While you're down there, hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe, ring that notification bell. And I'll talk to you all very soon in the next video.